If by any chance you have a riding tractor and for some reason you notice the drive belt keeps coming off, this could be part of the reason why your drive belt comes off. So what's happening is the pressure from the belt being pulled from the front has a natural tendency to pull the transaxle, transmission, whatever you want to call it, forward. And eventually this lawnmower is about 9 years old. Enough pressure, got some fatigue on the metal there, and what I've already done the repair on the other side, so I'm going to walk you through the process of what I've done to fix this and not have to take the entire lawnmower apart and buy a new frame. Frame's $200, $300. Labor on that would just take forever, and this right here is a really cheap fix, and I think you'll like it. Here's what I've done. First thing I did, I had to take a measurement from here to here, find out what the width is on this, and then I needed something to go high enough so that I could have some meat in order to work with right up in here. So I purchased some angle iron, and this is 3 inches by 3 inches. Look at it that way. It's 3 by 3, and this is quarter. So this is probably the thinnest you'll find. This is structural steel. So if you get into something that might be 4 inches, you're probably only going to find ½ inch. So you got to keep that in mind, that as the taller or wider it goes, the thicker it's going to be as well. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that you can't put this high or low, or you're going to start having challenges of where this is positioned with regard to the belt, because that belt that runs from the back all the way to the front has to be perfectly level, or there's going to be pressure. So what was happening was this unit right here for me was twisting forward, and so the belt was being tugged on. The belt was flat, but it was the transaxle was in this position, so it was causing the belt to slip, and it was also causing a lot of issues with reverse having no power, having no power going forward, because that pulley was basically the belt was going through the pulley, but it wasn't there was no tension. So I ended up having this issue starting last year. Didn't really catch it until this year when it finally just stopped working. So I had done some adjustments on this screw right here to try to fix my reverse. That wasn't it. All that was happening was my drive belt didn't have the proper tension on it because of this structural failure that was happening right here. So I'm gonna start taking this apart, and I'll show you the little bits and pieces as I go. So I've taken the bolts that hold the transaxle to the frame, and you can kind of start to see what the problem is. So this is just metal fatigue going on right here. It's bent, so now it really provides no structural integrity whatsoever. This little bit right here cracked off, and then this one right here is about to come off as well. So you don't want to just pop those off just yet, and I'll kind of explain to you why. Because if you look from the top, you see that's where the screw holes are, okay? And you can use that to help get your measurements. I mean, if they were gone, it's not a big deal, but I would rather have this measurement right here be precise, rather than relying on this piece right here for my measurement, because I know that's where it's supposed to be from the factory. So I'm gonna leave that right there intact. This one over here, I'll have to take the measurement, just get that measurement across and make sure that everything lines up properly. Okay. Now, the other issue that we're gonna have, and you probably haven't even caught it yet. I caught it early on, but probably haven't noticed it yet. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna come in here, we're gonna set this angle iron in here, okay? We're gonna bolt that to the chassis, and then we're gonna put the bolts from the bottom coming through this. Challenge we've got is, on my machine, yours may not have this, these little nubs right here. So those are structural, engineering wise, they're, these are done on a press, and because they're in this position, they give some better structural support than if they were just bent straight. We have to take those out. Okay, so I'm going to use just a 4.5 inch angle grinder. I'm not going to show you that process, but I'm just basically going to come in here. I'm going to take the top off, and I'm going to come back to the bottom. I'm going to grind the bottom off, take that nub out, and when I do that, this right here, I had to do some, straightening out of this stuff right here. This will then slide flush. It'll sit the back on this piece right here, and I'll also straighten this out where it's nice and level. So I'll next thing I'll show you, this will be gone, this will be flattened out, it'll be nice and straight. Okay, so I used my grinder, cut those little nubs off. You see they're all gone. And what's going to happen now, sorry, it's rainy here and it's dark. I can now take the angle iron and slide it in there. So now we'll take some measurements, we'll make sure it's right in the middle, and so on. Then probably one thing that I need to just point out is you may ask, well, how big of a piece of an angle iron do I need? Well, I use 6 inches. When I put the bolts in, here, you'll kind of see, but you have to keep in mind that too far, every lawnmower is different, so I'll make no assumptions of what you've got. The wheel is going to sit in here, the rim's going to sit in here, so you got the tire, you got the metal rim, and so on. So I use 6 inches because this will fit way down into the tire should I ever need to. Now you'll see it when I'm done. I get nowhere close to it, but there's plenty of room to put the tire in there. See, and it could just float around on there without any challenges whatsoever. So once I mount the tire back on, I'm good to go. All right, let's get some measurements and get some bolts in. Okay, there you go. You can see my marks. Got my holes drilled. Got one bolt in, and that second bolt in, and get it nice and firmed up, and then we'll work on the next set of holes. Okay, bolts are nice and firm. See how that sits in there, nice and tight. Get some more line in there. Nice and flush from that. Okay, now all we got to do is drill 2 holes here, and that's going to firm this whole thing up to the frame, keep this nice and level. And of course this is completely, over-engineered, overbuilt, but without going down and, getting a welder or having to take the machine down to somebody having them weld on it, something for you. This will do the trick. This will outlast the entire lawnmower. Okay, there it is. Secured from the bottom of here up top, secured to the frame. These bolts come through nice and tight. And let me show you what the other side looks like, which I've already done. In the end, that's what you're looking at. So when I was talking about the wheel clearance, that was what I was talking about. And there you go. All right, so all I gotta do, if you're having this issue, do it on one side and wash, rinse, and repeat on the other one. Hope it helps.